On December 1st, 2025, the world's eyes turned to Paris, a city long associated with diplomacy and historic agreements. The air is thick with anticipation as leaders, journalists, and citizens alike await the outcome of a meeting that could alter the course of history. French President Emmanuel Macron welcomes Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the Élysée Palace, the heart of French political power. Their handshake is more than a gesture, it's a signal to the world that peace is possible, even in the darkest times. This is no routine visit. These talks are a pivotal attempt to end the devastating war with Russia, now grinding into its fourth year. The negotiations are tense, with every word and gesture carrying enormous weight for millions of people. The leaders are determined to push for a just and lasting peace, insisting that Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity remain non-negotiable. Their message is clear: any agreement must respect international law and the rights of the Ukrainian people. Macron's goal is to unite Europe behind a single, powerful peace strategy, rallying support from EU partners, and increasing diplomatic pressure on Russia to come to the table in good faith. For Zelenskyy, this summit is a crucial opportunity to reinforce Ukraine's position on the world stage and ensure that any deal does not reward aggression or compromise his nation's future. The stakes could not be higher. The outcome of these talks will not only influence Ukraine's fate, but could also reshape the security landscape of Europe for years to come. Across continents, people gather in public squares and living rooms, watching and hoping. For millions, these talks represent more than diplomacy. They are a symbol of hope, a chance for families to reunite and for normal life to return. The world is watching closely, waiting to see if Paris can become the stage for a new chapter, one that brings an end to one of this century's most tragic and defining conflicts. The war began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, a moment that shocked the world and marked the largest military assault in Europe since World War II. For decades, Europe had enjoyed a fragile peace, with cities bustling and life moving forward, seemingly untouched by the specter of war. The sudden eruption of violence shattered this sense of security overnight. Since then, millions of Ukrainians have been forced to flee their homes, seeking safety in neighboring countries or far from the front lines. Entire cities have been reduced to rubble, their streets now unrecognizable. The human toll is immense, families torn apart, countless lives lost, and communities left grieving. Hospitals struggle to care for the wounded, while the scars of war run deep. Ukraine, backed by Western support and military aid, has shown fierce resilience. Against overwhelming odds, its forces have managed to reclaim some territory, inspiring hope both at home and abroad. Yet, large parts of the east and south remain under occupation, where daily life is marked by uncertainty, fear, and hardship for those who stayed behind. The conflict has become a grinding war of attrition, with both sides locked in brutal combat. The front lines shift slowly, and the cost in human life and suffering continues to mount. The war's devastation has rippled far beyond Ukraine's borders, fueling energy crises, driving up prices, and heightening geopolitical tensions across the globe. Nations everywhere feel the impact. Every diplomatic move is measured against the daily reality of ongoing violence. Negotiations are fraught, as leaders weigh the urgent need for peace against the harsh facts on the ground. The Paris talks are urgent. Ending the war is not just a diplomatic goal, but a humanitarian necessity. The world's eyes are on these negotiations, hoping for a path to peace. The world waits anxiously for a breakthrough that can finally bring relief to Ukraine, restore hope to its people, and return stability to a shaken Europe. As Zelenskyy heads to Paris, he faces political turbulence at home. He recently dismissed his chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, amid a sweeping anti-corruption crackdown. These moves signal a renewed commitment to reform, crucial for maintaining Western support. Despite internal upheaval, European allies reaffirm Zelensky's legitimacy as Ukraine's leader. He must balance tough negotiations abroad with unity and stability at home. His ability to project strength on both fronts will shape Ukraine's chances for a favorable peace. France, led by Macron, is taking a firm stance. Peace must respect Ukraine's sovereignty and not reward Russian aggression. French officials warn Moscow, negotiate seriously or face crippling new EU sanctions. France is also ramping up military support for Ukraine, signaling Europe's readiness for a long struggle if needed. This dual approach, diplomacy backed by credible threats, aims to force Russia to the table. Macron's Paris summit is about more than peace. It's about asserting European leadership in resolving the continent's biggest security crisis. The message to Moscow is clear. Europe is united and prepared to act. The talks are a test of both European resolve and Russia's willingness to compromise. The outcome could redefine the balance of power in Europe. Peace efforts are split between Europe's multilateral approach and the United States' more transactional strategy. Macron's coalition, backed by 26 European nations and Canada, offers security guarantees and even peacekeeping forces for Ukraine. The European plan is collective and principle-based, aiming for lasting security. In contrast, President Trump's administration has proposed a separate peace plan, seen by many Europeans as too favorable to Russia. The US approach seeks a quick resolution, sometimes at odds with Ukraine's core demands. Zelenskyy must navigate these competing visions, balancing vital US support with Europe's unified front. The Paris talks are a chance to consolidate Europe's position and keep Ukraine's interests at the center. The United States, under President Trump, has introduced a sweeping 28-point peace proposal, immediately igniting debate and uncertainty among both American allies and adversaries. The plan, presented with much fanfare at the White House, signals a dramatic shift in Washington's diplomatic strategy, one that many see as a break from the past. The American plan pushes for a rapid settlement to the conflict, but critics warn that such speed could come at the expense of Ukraine's security and territorial integrity. Many in Kyiv worry that the rush to end fighting may force painful compromises, especially regarding contested regions and future guarantees. Trump's envoys are now engaging directly with both Kyiv and Moscow, favoring a bilateral deal that sidelines Europe's traditional multilateral framework. This approach marks a clear departure from previous US policy, which prioritized working closely with European partners and international organizations. President Trump has also called on Europe to cut Russian oil imports and adopt a tougher stance on China, while at the same time advocating for a direct meeting between Zelenskyy and Putin. He argues that only face-to-face negotiations can break the deadlock, but this has raised concerns about transparency and accountability. This new approach puts immense pressure on President Zelenskyy, who depends heavily on US support, but fears being pushed into a rushed agreement that could undermine Ukraine's long-term interests and sovereignty. In contrast, Europe's plan emphasizes collective security and a more measured, inclusive process. European leaders argue that a durable peace requires broad international backing and careful negotiation, not just speed. The Paris summit represents Europe's determined effort to ensure Ukraine's interests are not sidelined in the rush for a deal. European leaders are working to keep the focus on Ukrainian sovereignty and the principles of international law. The challenge now is clear. Western nations must find common ground and unite their strategies before Russia can exploit divisions and shape the outcome to its own advantage. As talks approach, Ukraine is waging economic war. targeting Russia's oil exports with naval drone strikes. Recent attacks on Russia's shadow fleet in the Black Sea disrupt Moscow's vital revenue streams. These strikes weaken Russia's ability to fund its war and increase its economic isolation. Ukraine's asymmetric tactics show it can inflict real costs, strengthening its hand in negotiations. The message to Moscow: Ukraine is not negotiating from weakness. Economic pressure is now a key weapon in Ukraine's fight for peace. Major obstacles remain on the path to peace. Russia refuses any Western troop presence in Ukraine, clashing with Europe's security guarantee plan. Many in Europe believe Moscow is stalling, hoping for Western resolve to weaken. Zelenskyy faces domestic challenges. Any deal must be accepted by Ukraine's people and political class. The split between US and European peace proposals risks undermining Allied unity. Russia could exploit these divisions to its advantage. Overcoming these hurdles will require extraordinary diplomacy and unwavering Allied resolve. The Paris talks are a critical test of whether unity and determination can overcome entrenched positions. The Paris summit is a turning point for Ukraine, Europe, and the global order. For Ukraine, it's a chance to secure a peace that honors its sacrifices and sovereignty. For Europe, it's a test of unity and its ability to manage its own security. The outcome will shape whether borders can be changed by force or if international law prevails. A just peace would reaffirm global rules. Failure could embolden future aggression. The world is watching to see if diplomacy can triumph over violence. While a final deal may not emerge overnight, the summit aims to build momentum for a credible peace process. The hopes of millions rest on the conversations in Paris.